I wanted to live for my dreams. I wanted to do this, to do that. And anyone who tells me otherwise, I'm unfriending. This is the sort of mentality that our culture constantly sets for us. What do we hear in society all the time, guys? Look, we can learn this from the doctrine of the Trinity. What do we hear in society all of the time? You're free to be whoever you want to be, to do whatever you want to do. You're free to... Don't let anyone tell you how to live your life. Don't let anyone tell you what you should be or shouldn't be. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do or shouldn't do. That's the mentality. You can see it on every Facebook feed that's out there. I wanted to live for my dreams. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that, to do that. And anyone who tells me otherwise, I'm unfriending. This is the sort of mentality that our culture constantly sets for us. What it's trying to tell you is throw off all boundaries, throw off all limitations, and that's what makes you truly free. But the fact of the matter is it's just the opposite. Freedom comes from embracing our boundaries and our limitations. If we actually embrace how we're made to be, that's where we can have true freedom. Timothy Keller has an illustration that he loves to use about a sailboat. Okay, you have a sailboat. How can the sailboat be truly free? The sailboat must embrace its boundaries and its limitations in order to sail the open seas freely. If the sailboat goes into too shallow of water, it's going to break up and be grounded and be crashed upon the rocks. If the sailboat doesn't point its sail in the right direction, it won't catch any wind, and because it won't catch any wind, it won't be able to make any progress. But if the sailboat will instead embrace its limitations, embrace the constraints that are placed upon it, the sailboat can thrive and flourish. If the sailboat chooses to not go into water that's too shallow, if the sailboat chooses to point its sail in the right direction, now it can go wherever it pleases on the open seas. The same goes for me and you. The same goes for us. There are boundaries and limitations that are placed upon us in life. And there are people constantly telling us every second of every day to throw off all of your boundaries and your limitations. But that's how you crash your life upon the shallow rocks. Instead, what we need to do is embrace our boundaries and limitations. Are you a husband? Lean into that. Be a husband. Are you a father? Lean into that. Be a father. Are you a mother? Are you a wife? Are you a son or a daughter? Lean into who God designed you to be, and you will be able to thrive and to flourish. And the Trinity gives us a perfect example of that. The Son, in the economic Trinity, submits to the Father, and he says the Father is greater than I. Jesus says the Son doesn't do anything except for what the Father tells him to do. The Father and the Son send the Spirit, and the Spirit isn't out for his own glory. The Spirit says, I'm trying to point people to Jesus. I'm trying to exalt and glorify Jesus, and that's what the Spirit does. And the Trinity functions in such a way as to help to promote the goodness of the mission, the kingdom, altogether, because they are willing to live in their roles, to submit to the limitations and boundaries that the world has placed upon them. And it's not the world. They've placed these limitations, boundaries upon themselves. The Father, the Son, and the Spirit all decided which roles they were going to take, and they took them gladly. The Son lays down his own life. Nobody takes it from him. The Son chose to go to the cross. So they're embracing these boundaries and limitations upon themselves. So too, we ought to embrace our boundaries and our limitations. This is a secret in terms of thriving and flourishing in the real world. If we'll embrace our boundaries and limitations, that's when we can truly be free. That's when we can truly be free. Yeah, it helped me so much when I heard that sailboat analogy. And we have so many people in our society today who are like sailboats, but they're refusing to turn their sail into the wind, and they're refusing to stay off the shallow water. They say they don't like those limitations. They don't like those boundaries. Nobody's going to put any boundaries on me. No one's going to put any limitations on me. I demand freedom. And ironically speaking, in demanding that level of freedom, they actually end up becoming slaves. They're not truly free, and they run their ship onto the shallow rocks, and it crashes and burns. If we want to be truly successful in life, if we want to have those opportunities, this is something we can learn from Mark 12. Mark 12 teaches us the Holy Spirit is the one who inspires the Word. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, and he teaches the people. The crowd listen to him with delight. The Father is the one who conquers the enemies. The Lord said to my Lord, this first Lord is the Father. The Lord said to my Lord being the Son, what does my Lord do? He sits at the right hand. That's what Jesus does. He sits there. Why? Because the Father is doing all of the conquering until I, the Father, put the enemies under your feet. Each member of the Trinity fulfills their specific role and purpose, and as such are absolutely and ultimately free. So to us, God gives us a lane to run in. He tells us what we are to do. He gives us that direction and guidance. And if we will embrace it, then we can truly be free. Then we can truly be free. Are you saying embrace because they'll lead us in the right direction? I'm saying embrace boundaries because you can't help but do it. There are boundaries and limitations on you, regardless of how much you want to try and throw them off. Let's just take a practical example. Let's say there's a man who loves to eat ice cream. I might know about this man, okay? There's a man who loves to eat ice cream, okay? But he also loves to spend time with his grandkids. He gets to a later stage in his life, and he goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, your eating habits are horrible. What do you do? And he describes everything he eats on a regular basis, and the doctor says, oh, that sounds good. What else? And he goes, well, there's one more thing. I eat a pint of ice cream every night before I go to bed. The doctor's like, that's it. That's what's harming you. I can see it right here in your numbers. That makes perfect sense. You've got to stop eating your pint of ice cream every night. Otherwise, you're going to die too young, and you're not going to be able to spend time with your grandkids. Do you see what has happened? This man, not from anybody else, but this man has had boundaries and limitations placed upon him. He has had boundaries and limitations placed upon him. Either he can keep enjoying his pint of ice cream every night, or he can stop doing that and live longer so that he can spend time with his grandkids. He's going to have to embrace one boundary or one limitation. Either he's going to be limited in his time with his grandkids, or he's going to be limited in terms of what he can eat. These are just the realities of life. We have boundaries and limitations that are placed upon us from all sides, from all directions. And if you try to throw off every boundary and every limitation, rather than embracing the boundaries and limitations we have in our lives, then you will ultimately end up in a space that is unfulfilling, undesirable, devoid of relationships, and you will have burnt down everything in your life that you care about. I think love is a perfect example of this. If you get in a loving relationship with somebody, you are constantly sacrificing on their behalf. You are giving up your free time, your freedom, your desires for the sake of your loved one, of your partner. And that's good. There's so much joy and fulfillment that comes from doing that. And that's one of the secrets to life, is to embrace those boundaries, to embrace those limitations. So I guess what I'm saying here is this. Embrace the boundaries and limitations because you can't help but have some boundaries and limitations. We all do. Embrace the ones that are placed upon you, especially by God, because they're for your good. They'll lead us in the right direction. They will, if we embrace those boundaries and limitations that are placed upon us by God, rather than trying to run from them. But so many people in our society and culture today basically say to try and run from your boundaries and your limitations. Hey guys, Pastor Channer here. Thanks for swinging by. Hope you liked that video, and if you did, would you mind hitting the like and subscribe buttons down below? More than that, if you head down to the description, you can see links to both our Twitch and our Discord. We would love to interact with you more live, so if you'd like to catch us there, that would be great. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. Take care. God bless. Bye now.